Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna.
So here we are reading again from the Srimad Bhagavatam. Where are we?
Canto 4, Chapter 13.
No.
Oh, what? Oh, we finished, didn't it?
Yeah.
Oh, I didn't have my book last time.
That's right.
Do bear with me. Canto 4, Chapter 14, Text 1.
Yay! And the chapter is...
The story of King Vena.
Dun, 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 dun. Okay.
Om
Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya.
Right, text 1. The great sage Maitreya continued. The great hero Vidura, the great sages headed by Bhrigu, were always thinking of the welfare of the people in general. When they saw that in the absence of King Anga, there was no one to protect the interests of the people, they understood that without a ruler, the people would become independent and non-regulated.
Interesting.
Purport. In this verse, the significant word is Sema Darshina,
Shema.
which refers to those who are always looking after the welfare of the people in general. All the great sages, headed by Bhrigu, were always thinking of how to elevate all the people of the universe to the spiritual platform. Indeed, they advised the kings of every planet to rule the people with that ultimate goal of life in mind. The great sages used to advise the head of the state or the king, and he used to rule the populace in accordance with their instruction. After the disappearance of King Anga, there was no one to follow the instructions of the great sages. Consequently, all the citizens became unruly, so much so that they could be compared to animals. As described in Bhagavad Gita, Chapter 4, Text 13, human society must be divided into 4 orders according to quality and work. In every society, there must be an intelligent class, administrative class, productive class, and worker class. In modern democracy, these scientific divisions are turned topsy-turvy, and by vote, Shudras or workers are chosen for administrative posts. Having no knowledge of the ultimate goal of life, such persons whimsically enact laws without knowledge of life's purpose. The result is that no one is happy. Interesting, isn't it? Modern democracy, topsy-turvy, and by vote, Shudras or workers are voted up to the top of the flagpole. I'm not going to mention anything or anyone in modern day or otherwise. It's not a political blog. But I think most people do apply to that.
Yeah, I think it's crazy that, you think that in huge societies of relatively affluent people, educated people, that the kind of people that run for the top post are generally not known as deep thinkers. What are they?
They appeal to the lower masses.
Something, maybe.
Oh, it's always...
I'm not sure. Yeah,
it's the same. Immigration in any country. Immigrants are bad people. Too many immigrants, isn't it? And what's the other one? Immigrants.
Money. It's all about
money.
Mostly it's about money. So at least those who are interested, Vaishyas, who can help make us, affluent. Yeah. Anyhow. So Prabhupada here, because someone was saying to us once also that, Prabhupada is often criticizing communism. And, we were saying, no, he equally criticizes democracy. He doesn't say that democracy is better in one sense. And here he's saying, So, but what is interesting, I think a couple of good points here. Many good points. It talks about Brigu and the sages are always trying to guide the leaders and the heads of society. So in one sense, we know the Brahmanas are meant to be the heads. So they're the heads, but they're guiding the arms, which are the executive class, which is the Kshatriyas, which are kind of like the heads of the society because they're the kings and the administrators. So that's an important point, that they were always guided, or those who were attempting to guide them, the sages, the Brahmanas, the sadhus, attempting to guide the Kshatriyas, the leaders, the rulers. The other thing is that the sadhus, they saw that with the absence of a leader, and this is important because you might think that the sadhu would think, oh, there's no leader, we should be the leader. But they don't think like that. They think, oh, there's no leader and there has to be a leader. Without a leader, society will become degraded. So it's very interesting that they understand their nature and the role that they play in the social structure. And they don't try to pretend to be something that they're not. And they don't try to put someone in the place of a Kshatriya or a leader who doesn't belong there, because they know that in order to keep the social structure intact and to protect the citizens, you need someone who's of Kshatriya nature. Anyway, I thought that was very powerful. Any thoughts on that?
I agree.
Well, now that's a first, isn't it, everyone? Okay, so now text 2. The great sages then called for the queen mother, Sunita, and with her permission they installed Vena on the throne as master of the world. All the ministers, however, disagreed with this. Okay, so now we've got sages and ministers. Anyway, maybe that will be explained. Text 3. It was already known that Vena was very severe and cruel. Remember, cruel Vena. Therefore, as soon as all the thieves and rogues in the state heard of his ascendance to the royal throne, they became very much afraid of him. Indeed, they hid themselves here and there as rats hide themselves from snakes. So rats and snakes aren't necessarily, it's not like a snake is something that's loved by others. Snakes are also feared. Okay, interesting. Purport. When the government is very weak, rogues and thieves flourish. Similarly, when the government is very strong, all the thieves and rogues disappear or hide themselves. Of course, Vena was not a very good king, but he was known to be cruel and severe. Thus, the state at least became freed from thieves and rogues. Interesting. Sometimes, you have to employ a certain technique to get a certain result. So I like this. It's not that Vena was a good king, but because of his cruel nature, certain types of people were afraid of him, so they went away, and that was the thieves and the rogues. Fortunately, because of his cruel nature, he himself didn't necessarily become a thief or a rogue. Otherwise, it could have been really nasty.
Text 4. When the king ascended to the throne, he became all-powerful with 8 kinds of opulences. Consequently, he became too proud. By virtue of his false prestige, he considered himself to be greater than anyone. Thus, he began to insult great personalities. Purport. In this verse, the word asta vibhutibu,
Vibhuti,
meaning by 8 opulences, is very important. The king is supposed to possess 8 kinds of opulences. By dint of mystic yoga practice, kings generally acquired these 8 opulences. These kings were called Raja Rishis, kings who were also great sages. By practicing mystic yoga, a Raja Rishi could become smaller than the smallest, greater than the greatest, and could get whatever he desired. A Raja Rishi could also create a kingdom, bring everyone under his control and rule everyone. These were some of the opulences of a king. King Vena, however, was not practiced in yoga, but he became very proud of his royal position nonetheless. Because he was not very considerate, he began to misuse his power and insult great personalities.
Sorry about the noise. Sounds like someone just started a chainsaw outside.
That's where we are.
I think we're in the middle of the forest or something.
We're not.
No.
Yeah. Pride. Interesting.
Pride cometh.
Well, he was proud of what his position and whatnot, and it's interesting. Through pride, we don't treat people nicely. It's not a selfless trait. You know, it's all very well if someone's proud. Says he was proud of his royal position. Okay, you can be proud in a way. Yeah, look at the lineage. Look at my, family tree and that. But yeah, when you're proud and it's not just contained within you. You start to treat other people cruel, like cruel Vena. That's a trait of pride, unfortunately.
Yeah, you think yourself higher and better than others.
Yeah.
And thus they're subservient to you. Yeah. I like this though. Prabhupada really explains the Rajarishi program, that Rajarishis are great kings who are empowered with the 8 opulences, but they also have are practicing yoga, Prabhupada says. So therefore they can not be affected by pride. So because they're connected with Krishna through yoga. But yeah, Rajarishis, yeah, powerful. Okay, should we read one more? Oh, there's a few more we can read. Okay, text 5. When he became overly blind due to his opulences, King Vena mounted a chariot and like an uncontrolled elephant began to travel through the kingdom, causing the sky and earth to tremble wherever he went. Okay. So it sounds like he went on what they call a rampage. Text 6. All the twice-born brahmanas were forbidden henceforward to perform any sacrifice, and they were also forbidden to give charity or offer clarified butter. Thus, King Vena sounded kettle drums throughout the countryside. In other words, he stopped all kinds of religious rituals. I'm going to read that again. All the twice-born brahmanas were forbidden henceforward to perform any sacrifice, and they were also forbidden to give charity or offer clarified butter. Thus King Vena sounded kettle drums throughout the countryside. In other words, he stopped all kinds of religious rituals. Well, that's a big no-no, isn't it? You definitely don't want to stop the religious rituals. But we'll see. I remember from reading previously his mood and mentality. Purport. What was committed by King Vena many years ago is at present being carried out by the atheistic governments all over the world. The world situation is so tense that at any moment governments may issue declarations to stop religious rituals. Eventually, the world situation will become so degraded that it will be impossible for pious men to live on the planet. Wow. Therefore, sane people should execute Krishna consciousness very seriously so that they can go back home, back to Godhead, without having to further suffer the miserable conditions predominant in this universe. Wow, that's an impetus to be serious about Krishna consciousness, Prabhupada says, because degradation is going to increase, especially in Kali Yuga, up to the point where the Srimad Bhagavatam later in the 11th canto explains that devotees will be hunted for sport. The earth will be scorched. People will live underground. They will be overly taxed. That's already happening. People will give birth to children just to eat them. Krishna, Krishna. And so things will be very, very degraded. It will not be a fit place for a gentleman what to speak of, a devotee. So better we practice sincerely and seriously now in order to go back to Godhead and not be around when all that goes on.
It's already unpleasant now.
And you are correct. You are correct.
Okay, everybody.
Before we get to
Degraded,
depressed, start. Thank you very much. Never fear. Krishna is always there. Just need to open our hearts and our minds and let Him in.
All right.
Okay, thank you all very much. All glories to Srila Prabhupada. Grantaraj Srimad Bhagavatam Ki
Yeah.
Jai.